The configured recording path could not be opened. Please check your recording path under settings, output recording. What the fuck? I don't know if we're actually live or not. Give it a second for Twitch to catch up. It's acting like we're live. Brian looks less like an alien astronaut and way more like he's just like looking through the hatch of like the spaceship itself. Either way, it's making me laugh quite a bit. What's up, Emma Frost? How you doing? Oh, okay. Can you can hear us okay though? You're not gonna be able to see a damn thing, but you can hear us? Fantastic. We are technically live. I did forget to get something running ahead of time. No, there it goes. With all the time trying to get the stupid chat working, or sorry, the videos working, I forgot to do literally everything else. How are you doing, Emma? Let's get this. That sounds awful, but whatever. Better than nothing. Okay. Actually, wait, I lost both your stream. Oh, right, because I opened a different window. I hate Discord. Can you guys talk and can you guys respond if anyone can hear them? Great talking. How's it going, Commander Frost? I'm on screen. We're good. If anything, I'm a little bit high. I might just lower myself a little bit. There we go. Now we're comfortable and better shot. That's fantastic. All right, how's everybody doing? Run looks like a demolitionist. I think he's supposed to be an Among Us character. He's definitely sus. Okay. I've got everything. Sorry, that's what's going on. Let's turn that back up. You look good to me, Will. You're just not moving very much. You're just lazy. That's all. There you go. Can we get? I was just about to say, can we get the Thriller? That would be amazing. That's the way to go in that costume. I did not. I was gonna say. I think Emma's fucking with us because somebody else would have said something. Commander Frost, you can hear us, right? And the zipper stuck. So, Brian, you had they can hear us. Emma's just being fucking Emma. Forget that person. Although, fuck. Brian, talk a lot, or one of you talk a lot. No. I can hear you. It's a problem on my end. Give me 10 seconds, hopefully. God damn it, I hate computers. I am not. Fuck off. You're not wrong, but it's still. Give me a second.
Let's do.
I came prepared.
Hey guys, can you hear them now?
How's that?
Can you hear me now? I'm talking like a crazy zombie.
You
eat
are
your brains, eat your brains.
like
Yes,
on
I can hear
OBS.
myself.
It's bouncing, so it should be good to go.
Oh, that's so funny.
Boom, got there.
Right into an ad break.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Are you for
I love
real?
the camera angle though. That's sweet, man.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, trying some things out. Ooh, I could try. Ooh, you know what? Try this one out too. Hold on, this is gonna take me a second to get this one going. Since we're just fucking around with it's a tech stream today, everybody. Tech stream today. This is
It's
gonna be
okay.
tough
We're
'cause I gotta
only
read real
36
far.
minutes late for this stream that nobody asked for. It's fine.
Oh,
Fine.
Get some sweet feet pics of Brian there. I love it.
Yeah.
well, my
yeah, I thought that
my cord's going through the foot of this costume. It's not long enough to stretch. So I'm bouncing on one foot, trying to get a camera to work. Okay, I think I almost got it. Let's do that, and let's swing the costume around.
There. Okay, I apologize. Who was that? Hefe just subscribed for 10 months. Good God, Hefe, thank you so much. Greatly appreciated. Wonderful D was trying to do single ladies. I apologize. It's a new scene, but it does have all the alerts on now. You should be good if you want to redeem something ridiculous like Will dancing. Go for it. I hope it's good. I can't promise anything. Oh God, can this stream be over already? I can hear you. You guys can hear you. Everybody should be good. Please, dear God, don't do sad or mad Dan. It changes the scenes and it's just going to be a shit show. I was going to try and warn Cleaning Agent not to do it. And like, I was like, I should just not tell him. That would be the better way to do it.
Suck it, man.
What's up, Crow? What's up, Wonderful D? What's up, Emma? What's up, El Jefe? Hope you're all doing fantastic. Brian, are you ready to even remotely start?
I'm just testing out camera angles, see what works.
Fuck you! Don't make me angry! This doesn't work! This is not the show!
Here.
Ah! God damn it. If there was a way to change that so it wouldn't change the setting, that'd be better, but it would actually probably be less interesting because it just doesn't piss me off. I want my Magneto helmet. It's on the other side of the damn room. Ugh. Okay, so fuck it. Brian, or
Yeah.
Will. Let's go with Will. Will,
What?
why don't you start us off? What is one of your... So with this whole stream, this whole thing, like, we're not going to be able to do our rating tomorrow because of Halloween. We're all going to be out doing things with our kids. We decided to do a stream today just talking about our favorite scary movies. We're not recording for this one. Feel free to do whatever the fuck you want, chat. We're just having a good time reacting to you guys and just hanging out. So on that note, Will, do you want to start us off with one of your favorite scary movies, knowing that I'm not going to be able to hear you for the next, like, 8 seconds?
Oh, wow. Let's
That's
just
okay,
shit
I can
talk
hear
Dan
him, so-
for the
so
next
me
8
and Will.
seconds. Dan was supposed to be like all in this sweet costume he didn't want to tell us about, and then he's like, I'm sick, I'm not gonna dress up, and then he's like, oh, I'm back, please let me join the stream. I'm like, Dan, make up your damn mind, buddy. What the F? But anyway.
And
Here he
let's
is.
talk about Cleaning Agent putting in 17 hours into that makeup on his costume. I might might be exaggerating that by about 16 hours.
Yeah,
still,
you're
an
exaggerating. But
incredible zombie look. It's kind of funny because I was watching World War Z just before we went live.
well, thank you,
I like
Brian.
World War Z. I don't care what anybody says. I like the book
have you
and I
re-
like the movie. They're totally different entities, but that's fine. They're both really good. I might have more to say about
Okay.
that later.
Oh shit, is it on your list? You might as well just start us off, Dan, because I failed to do so.
Meaning you didn't make a list?
No, it didn't start with my movie.
Ah.
I just made fun of you.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I will start off with while it's fresh in Brian's mind, World War Z. I don't have like a top 5 for this. I don't have any like order per se. I literally wrote down all the ones I can think of. Horror, as you might have noticed from the Evil Dead R rating we've done over the last month, is not really my genre. I do enjoy some horror movies, but it's not necessarily a franchise or a genre that I go back to all that often. That said, I've watched World War Z maybe like 4 or 5 times. I really, really enjoy it. It's not super scary. It's not super gory. It's actually a little intelligent. It is completely different from the book. And if you're going to come at me with like, oh, the book is better, you're not wrong. The book is better. They are completely different entities that just share a title.
Is the
Other than
book
that,
always better?
the book is almost always better. There are a few exceptions, but other
Yeah.
than that, I think the World War Z movie with Brad Pitt is really, really fun because it's not just about a zombie. It's actually more of a detective story, which I really, really like. Shh, can't say that. Apparently, Dan can't say things that will make it hard for Dan to speak about themselves. That's fun. There isn't a timer though, so I don't know how long that's going to go for. In fact, I just said it. Never mind. It's over. I did it. Congratulations. You got me.
Yeah, you screwed up big time.
If you haven't seen World War Z, it is a movie starring Brad Pitt at the very beginning of a zombie apocalypse that is going worldwide. It is, it's, as I said, it's kind of a detective story. Like he works, or he used to work for an international company. Brian, can you remember which one it is? You just watched it?
I haven't finished watching it. I'm only like 20 minutes into it, but yeah, he works for some company, a biotech company or something, or worked for them.
He used to work for some branch of the American government, CIA or something. I don't remember. And he's one of their lead like detective agencies kind of thing. So he has to try and figure out how works for the UN. Thank you very much, Hotep. He has to try and go around and find the patient zero essentially for what this thing is. Now, the cool thing about this that doesn't exist in most movies is they actually do know the word zombie, which is usually left out of zombie movies on purpose. And in this one, they actually do talk about it. That's actually how they kind of find where it first came from, because there was an email with the word zombie and they tracked it down to that. There's some really, really cool ideas in this one. It shows terrifyingly fast zombies, and not just fast, they turn really quickly. They turn in like 8 seconds or something from when they get bit. They can run really quickly, and they can act kind of like an ant colony where they can build upon themselves to like climb higher things. It's really, really cool. It's a little scary. It's pretty tame. I watched it with my kids. They seem to really enjoy it. I like this one. Have either of you seen it for more than 20 minutes?
Well, I've seen the whole thing. I'm just rewatching it for 20 minutes, and I saw it a long time ago when it first came out because I like zombie movies. And this was, though not my favorite zombie movie by far, it was definitely one that I enjoyed. A lot of people don't like fast-moving zombies, but I'm a big fan of 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. I thought those kind of really launched the fast-moving zombie really well. And so I enjoyed this one, and they took it up a notch by having them scale walls and things like that. And the speed at which they turn to made the story a little smarter, I think.
Agreed. What's up, Zero? How you doing? Will, sorry.
I too have seen the movie. I read the book. I thought it was fun. I saw the movie and I was like, oh, it kind of started like the book and then went a completely different direction, which was fine. I wouldn't say they work together to anthill their way up. I think they just crawl over each other, wanting to be the one to bite their next victim.
That's
in the
fair.
intro of the movie, they do a lot of relating it to ants by showing ant colonies and ants climbing up themselves and stuff like that. So I think they were trying to like imply that, but you're right. They just pile up, you know.
Yeah. But regardless, it's something you don't usually see in zombie movies. Like generally speaking, if you got a 10-foot wall, you're safe from zombies. And this one, they have a 50-foot wall and it does nothing, or not.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything long enough. I will say, Brian, the fact that you're steaming up in there is actually making it funnier, and the fact that I can see your entire upper body is just giving me like voyeur feelings, like I'm like watching you in the shower accidentally or something, and
Yeah,
it's steaming up
it's
over time.
I'm
I'm
constantly trying to wipe my screen. It's so hot in here, and I have the AC running and everything. The only part of me that is cool is the butt because the fan is in the back blowing cold air up my ass,
I
and the
just,
rest of me is just dying.
regardless of how hot it is, I really appreciate that you're wearing some semblance of a shirt, because if you weren't right now, it would absolutely be just you in a shower, and that'd be just too much for me to handle right now.
Take this shirt off. You guys just think I'm in here naked, just going commando in my Among Us costume. Run's definitely sus in here.
Zero is
Um,
willing to warm that butt up for you if you need that, so
no, that's
reach out to
okay.
him if you need help.
Thank you for that. Yeah. By the way, chat, I cannot read chat at all. I can barely see anything.
Say anything you want about Run 7. We won't read it out loud, but we'll know. We'll
Yeah.
know.
We'll know. We'll know.
So, did you guys get to watch any actual like scary Halloween movies this recently? Like, have you been gearing up for Halloween, movie wise?
Evil Dead is the only one that I've really watched recently that's scary. We watched Hocus Pocus with our youngest today, but that really doesn't count.
Hey, but that's Halloween. It doesn't
It's
have to be
Halloween for
scary.
sure, but it's not
It's only
scary.
Halloween. What about you, Will?
I find that Hocus Pocus is one of the most popular Halloween movies ever. Because everybody seems to love that movie. And I didn't grow up with Hocus Pocus. I grew up with a movie called The Witches.
Ooh, The Witches
And
was good.
I
I
don't know
like
that
The
one.
Witches.
I
Was that the one
really
where the
love
kid
that.
turns into a mouse and he rides on the Lego train?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
good. I like The
So
Witches.
it's based on Roald Dahl. And Roald Dahl, I think, wrote the script actually for the movie as well. They did a remake for it a few years ago that I never saw because I don't want anything to do with it because it's all CGI effects. And
Right.
The Witches in 1990 used a lot of practical effects, as we know I love to pieces. And just
Mhm.
watching Angelica Houston just rip off her face to see this like horrific looking witch underneath is just beautiful. I mean, I don't know if Brian loves or hates it. It's a lot of children actors in the movie, but
Actually, I haven't seen it in a very long time, but I remember enjoying it a lot. Mostly, I keyed onto it because he rides that Lego train and he was into building with Legos and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I was
No.
huge into that at the time. And like he had that monorail system and I had it. And so I loved it. I too loved the practical effects with the witches when they changed in like a poof of smoke and everything. It was kind of cool.
yeah. Yeah, it's a super fun movie. Like, it's very like creepy. The witches are very creepy in it, so I really love that. And the whole purpose is like the witches want to eat and kill all the children because they can't stand children. And then this like kid finds himself at this hotel where the witches are having their yearly conference to talk about taking over. And then he gets turned into a mouse partway through, and then he's got to like save the day by, you know, taking care of all these witches in this hotel. And then it also has the wonderful Rowan Atkinson in it, so you just can't go wrong. It's a hilarious and super creepy movie for a little kid to watch. And so I watch it almost every year.
Fair enough.
Nice. I
Um,
went Gremlins 1 and 2, and I watched them almost back to back with my kids. And I was pleasantly surprised at both of them. The first one was pretty fun, and I was glad it wasn't too rough and gory. I couldn't remember just how how ugly they got, and I was kind of worried with my youngins, but it turned out to be a fun watch. And then we rolled right into Gremlins 2, which did turn up the volume a little bit. The Gremlins got bigger, they looked a lot better.
Yeah.
And they got a little scarier. They did some crazy stuff where, they get changed into spiders. There's the smart
hybrid.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hybridization ones. The one turns into a bunch of vegetables. And so there was there was a lot of gory, gross stuff that happened. Not with like humans so much, but like just the gremlins just like really got messy and gross. Surprisingly, the spider one didn't scare my kids, but some of just like the gross effects kind of did, like when they were melting and stuff. But what I really enjoyed about number 2 was that they kind of, I guess not break the fourth wall, but like there's scenes in it where they bring up Gremlins 1 as a movie and they talk about what a crappy movie it was and make fun of it and stuff. It was really kind of funny to see that. like you're like, we're watching Gremlins 2 and you're making fun of the first movie. Like, it was kind of weird, but I enjoyed it. It made it a little fun and silly, and some of the characters were just really stupid, but it was a fun movie to watch.
Now, I've never
It's
seen
funny.
Gremlins
Oh,
2
go ahead.
all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces of it on TV. I seem to remember it being significantly more comedic than the first one. Is that right?
Very much so, yes. Much
Okay.
more silly. The first one took itself very seriously. The second one absolutely did not.
Do you recommend watching the second one at this point?
You know what? I enjoyed it as much as the first one. It was
Okay.
a different experience, but I really liked the comparison of going from 1 to 2 and seeing kind of the upgrade on how much better the Gremlins looked in the second one.
And how now your kids, I don't want to dox you, so you don't have to answer this, but your
8 and
kids are like
10.
10ish? Yeah, okay. And
8
they
and
were
10,
okay with
yeah.
both of them?
Number 2 got a little bit rough with some of the Gremlins melting, just kind of the disgusting sloppiness of stuff that happened there.
Sure.
But as far as like people being attacked by the Gremlins, the camera pans away from anything that was anywhere near scary.
Okay.
There's a romance scene between a gremlin and a dude.
Oh
And,
yeah.
There's
The
there's nothing
lipstick.
to be seen, but it's what's going on, and it's like I was like, my kids didn't need to know about that.
No, totally fair. Totally fair.
That's so funny, Brian, that you put Gremlins in your Halloween list. I definitely put Gremlins in my Christmas list.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, because like the
it's
first one, it's a Christmas story, right? He's
sure,
he's a
for
Christmas gift from his dad. So, but I mean, it plays into both, kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
right, yeah. Speaking about nightmares, I am very much considering taking a look at Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, and 3. I'm thinking about revisiting those. I just don't know if I should bother. I don't remember so much. I'm kind of wondering, like, will I like them? Will I enjoy them as much as I used to? Because I know latter versions of Nightmare on Elm Street was just trash. Freddy's Dead in 3D was stupid, although it was one of the scariest movies I ever saw at the time when I was a kid. But I've seen it again since then, and I'm like, this is really bad.
Yep.
And then, like Freddy versus Jason was entertaining to laugh at, but it was really also bad. And I'm kind of wondering if I should even bother with like a Friday the 13th or a Nightmare on Elm Street revisit.
I've watched
Kinda-
Friday the 13th in the last 5 years, probably, and it's decent. It's a decent flick.
I've
first
only
one-
seen Friday the 13th in the
Yeah.
last 5 years. Like that was the first time I ever watched it, and I've heard 3 is the best one, but I didn't get that far. I just literally watched 1. I did Halloween, Jason, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street all in 1 year because I'd never seen any of them, and I was like, well, I got to see at least the first one, see what it's all about, see what started the franchises. But I didn't go deeper on any of those
I think with
franchises
Friday
yet.
the 13th, you do need to watch 1, 2, and 3 because 1, of course, and these are spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it, but you should know this by now for crying out loud. This is a movie channel where you're at. 1, of course, is Jason Voorhees' mother that's
Yep.
doing the killing, and
Yeah,
they
that's why I like
allude to him being like alive at the bottom of the lake or something. Then number 2, he runs around with a sackcloth over his head, and it's creepy and everything, but it doesn't really get there. And then in 3, he's donning the hockey mask, which becomes iconic.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody thinks of when they think of Jason. So I think you got to watch all 3.
Fair. I might get around to them at some point. I wanted to just like be able to check those off the bucket list, and at least I've seen, something of the franchises. And I figured,
Mhm.
obviously number 1 is the best place to start at. But it's not something I grew up with,
And-
right? Like, it was not really allowed in my family, like horror movies and such. So all those like 80 ones, just if I've seen them, it's been in the last like 10 years or so.
And you've got a huge bucket list, buddy.
Oh, fuck yeah, I do.
For a guy who loves movies, damn, man.
I love good movies, man. Not many people talk about Friday the 13th 9 on their favorites list.
Nah,
Whoa,
you
whoa,
gotta
nobody
really
said
be
go
able-
watch number 9. Everybody said go watch the first 3.
I'm just
Well, I
saying.
was about to ask, have you seen? No. Have you seen the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street where it's recast with a new actor? I forget his name. I can't bring up IMDb because I don't have hands. And they recast him, and they tell a little bit different version of the story of Freddy Krueger, and I really didn't like it. it really bothered me the change that they made. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it.
I have seen that one. It didn't bother me because I saw it before I saw the original. I just didn't think it was a very good movie. Even without the original to compare it to, I was just like, this is okay at best. What about you, Will?
I haven't seen it.
Okay,
Fair enough.
I rarely watch a lot of remakes. I don't know. I just don't have time.
I don't think you should bother with this one. And the biggest problem I had, 'cause I don't even remember if the acting was good or whatever, but the biggest problem I had is that the original Freddy Krueger was accused of messing with kids, like diddling kids or something. And so they burned him in a basement or something like that. And it turned out he never did anything wrong. He was wrongly accused. And so he came back to murder and terrorize all the parents by murdering their kids in their sleep or something.
Because
I'm
in
totally butchering it.
2015, you're not allowed to have bad guys. Everybody has to be sympathetic.
Right. But in the remake of it, they find out he really was a pervert and he really did mess with the kids. And suddenly I'm like, this is a villain that I really, really hate. Like, it's not that I like to hate him. I'm like, I'm creeped out by it. Like,
Right, he's just gross.
yeah, now he's just an evil person. And like in the first ones, it's like, okay, there's a reason for him. Like every bad guy believes that they're not a bad guy, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. He was a really horrible person in the remake. And it was just, I don't know. I just didn't like that take, I guess. Maybe some people like it because it makes him just purely evil. I do like some characters that are purely evil, like Omega Red in the Marvel Universe. He's just an evil person,
Yeah.
born and raised.
Or like a Hannibal Lecter. Like there's not a whole
Or-
lot
Right.
redeeming him.
Well-
He's just bad.
Right. Well, Hannibal Lecter, I kind of dig him for his intelligence, but yeah, he is a horrible, evil person all the way through. Not because something happened to him.
Yeah.
You know, and he believes himself to be an evil person. He recognizes himself as an evil person.
All right. So talking about childhood, got a question for you guys, and anybody in the audience is welcome to answer it as well. What is a movie from your childhood that stays with you, is like you just think of it as a scary movie, even if you've seen it later and be like, man, that really didn't hold up as scary? Like, what's something that like hit you hard as a kid for some reason or another, whether you can even place why it hurt you so hard or not? Do you have one, Will? Something you watched when you were maybe a little bit too young?
I don't think so. I didn't get scared a lot from movies.
All right, then.
For me, well,
Hmm.
it was Freddy's Dead, Freddy in 3D. I saw that when I was way too young to see it, and the scene where he drives the giant Q-tip through the kid's head and pushes his hearing aid out the other side, and then gives him a new hearing aid, which turns out to be this super hearing aid that like spider legs pop out and latch onto his ear, and the sound is so incredibly loud that his head explodes. Right, that was a lot for a kid who I believe I was like 12 or maybe 11. I was at a friend's house. Their parents were busy getting it on in the next room and didn't know we were watching a movie above our rating. And it just totally like I said, I went back because that movie was so scary to me, but then I rewatched it. I was like, this is really dumb and really cheesy, and any adult that watches it isn't going to be scared by it. But as a kid, it blew me away. One of the other scary movies that I saw a little bit older, I saw it in theaters and I was an adult when it came out in theaters, was Event Horizon.
Yeah.
I love sci-fi. This was super scary, demonic presence in space. I don't know, it was a great scary movie, great use of scenes, the settings, the cinematography, the angles, the spinning, the sharp edges. It was a great film.
Yeah, no, that's definitely one I want to talk about a bit later. For me, it's such an incredibly dumb one, and I can't tell you why, because going back and watching it, it is like pure comedy. Like, it is just ridiculous. I don't even know if this is. Yeah. This is gonna sound so stupid. Do you guys know who Ernest is down in the States?
Ernest Scared Stupid?
Ernest
Yeah.
Scared Stupid.
Classic.
Ernest Goes to Jail was probably
Okay,
my
good.
favorite.
Every now and then you're like, oh, I loved this, and people are like, I don't know what that is. You're like, oh, never mind. Ernest
I gotta
Scared
pop out for
Stupid
a
for
breather,
no
guys.
good reason just got me as a kid. Like, it was just Brian needed a bit more air.
Oh my god,
Mhm.
so hot.
Ernest Scared Stupid was like a giant gnome or something that just attacked and like stole the kids and took them back to his treehouse
were
and turned them
trolls,
into
I think. It was
rocks or
trolls.
something. And it was
Yeah.
like, I don't know why, but I was like 8 or 9 when I saw it. It just like got to me. And then I watched it when I was like 16. I was like, this is a scary movie, guys. I'm like, wow, never mind. I just like had to leave. I'm like, never mind. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Let's watch literally anything else. And then, of course, the other one that I've talked about before is Jurassic Park, but that's for different reasons.
Right.
Jurassic Park didn't scare me so much, but it was a thrilling movie. I guess it may be a little scared, but I was on the edge of my seat with that. Jurassic Park was fantastic.
So I loved Jurassic Park the first time. First time I watched it, it just for people who are like, what? I watched it with my dad and my brother. Loved it in the theaters. Wouldn't shut up about it. And like, that's one of the movies that really got me into movies, right? Like that's the first one where I like went out and got books on like, how did they do it? How did they do the special effects? Stuff like that. Talked about it so much, my mother decided she wanted to go see it. I watched it with her. And like anytime there's even a remote jump scare, she would not only jump, but like grab my knee, which just somehow in my brain, my little 12-year-old brain made it so much more real that like as there's monsters on screen, I'm in pain. You know what I mean? And just like something about that triggered in my brain. So like I had nightmares for weeks the second time. No issues the first time. And it's like, I don't know if that counts. I feel like that's more my mother traumatizing me than the movie, but I have to bring it up because that is one of the ones that definitely got me when I was younger.
I've been in some 4D movies before, and they hurt, like physically hurt me. And those movies scared me for life, even though I think it was a children's movie about an asteroid impact or something. It was terrible.
Okay. 4D is one where like the chair's moving and like if it's
Yeah,
raining, they spit water
I
on you.
remember
And...
we were at the summit. We were at the summit for Marvel Strike Force, and they took us to see a 4D movie about Marvel superheroes, and like a monster would come on and like slobber at this screen, and a mist would shoot you. But they had like every once in a while a punch would land on a character, and there was a thing in the seat, and it would punch you in the back like a kidney punch. It was brutal. Very much did
and
not
you
like.
pay extra for this.
Scopely did.
Yeah.
But
do you know what movie that would have been? That would have been like what, Thor: Love and Thunder ish, or
no, it was an anime movie specific to like the Wax Museum where we were touring at Hollywood or whatever.
Gotcha. Fair enough. Sorry, I'm gonna break for 1 second. BK Lone, if you're still there, Anthony, you still there? If so, just out of curiosity, I keep forgetting to mention or to look back at you. Did you get a hold of that guy? Did you find a place to live? You good? Let me know. Anyways, okay, so you didn't watch a whole lot of movies. Nothing really scared you growing up. A lot of people in the comments were saying things like Jaws, which is one that I saw bits and pieces of, but I saw it later in life. I was already afraid of the water. I didn't need Jaws to help me out with that one at all. But I know that one was huge just in general, right? Like there was a lot of people
Jaws is
that
good.
there's a specific phobia for like open waters that like went through the roof in 1975. So
well, if you're going to talk phobias, you have to include arachnophobia, right? I mean, that's the scariest of the phobias, I think. Personally, that movie was crazy scary.
I remember the poster for that one being everywhere in my public school back in the day. Because this would have been like, what, 92, 93? Like that movie's getting pretty old at this point.
Yeah.
And it was like, the poster was so cool. I have never once seen a frame of that movie. That movie disappeared. Like, can you even find it anywhere?
Of course.
Yeah, you need to. That's got to be a bucket list movie, Dan. That is one of those polarizing films that some people simply will not watch. They just won't watch it because they're too afraid of spiders.
1990.
And I try to trick my wife into watching it all the time, and as soon as she realizes what's going on, she runs out of the room screaming.
Nice.
I mean, it's kind of a dark comedy in ways, right? Like,
right? Yeah, it's definitely
John
a comedy.
Goodman as the exterminator.
Amazing,
amazing.
Oh, he's
Jeff Daniels, always good in everything he ever does. It's a great movie. It's super fun. But there are super creepy parts with like, I remember the shower scene with the spider like crawling along the shower, and then it like goes onto the shower head, and you're like, oh man, this spider, and then he like gets washed away and down the drain. And I was like, oh, you know. And then later you see the old couple with the spiders like crawling in and out of their faces.
Oh yeah, because they're in the popcorn bowl when they were eating.
So good.
A spider crawls into a shoe, and then you see the guy put his foot in the shoe. Oh my goodness, yeah, just
it's great.
Creep you out. Yeah, it was fantastic.
It's definitely one that I've always been curious about. You know, it's one of those ones where like you see the poster as a kid and it just like pops at you. I'm just like, I
Yeah.
have to watch that at some point. And then I was like, I wasn't old enough. I wasn't old enough. I wasn't old enough. Disappeared. I've never seen it. It's never like shown up on Netflix or anything where I can like, oh, okay. Somebody said it's on Hulu, which in Canada is, I'm like 99% sure, is part of Disney
Brave?
Plus.
Disney
Or maybe,
Plus
yeah.
down
Oh,
here,
yeah, Disney Plus.
So I
yeah,
might go check that out at some point because honestly, I really do want to see that one. Like, there's a bunch of times where you guys
Oh,
are
yeah,
like,
it's
that's a
good.
movie you've never seen. You need to see that. And I'm like, yeah. That one I will watch like tonight. Not tonight.
mean,
I'm gonna go to
it-
bed, but like someday soon.
I won't ruin the ending, but it gets pretty ridiculous at the end.
Yeah, it's definitely ridiculous, but they
it's fun.
give a little
It's a
too
fun
much
movie.
intelligence to some of the spiders.
Zero. Tremors does not have any sequels. Just stop at one. One is amazing. It's all you
Yeah,
need. Just
hard
end
stop
there.
at
There's not a
one.
single sequel. We're gonna do it on our rating at some point. Let us take the hit for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be like 7 of them or something. Horrible.
yeah. Basically, like every stupid joke that they make in the preceding movie, they make a new movie about that joke and take it to that extreme, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
Astronomically. But yeah, hard stop after one because one was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well,
One
when I
is
was a kid,
almost
one was-
perfect. For
One
what
was
it is,
scary
for
when I was
what it is.
younger. Now it's almost perfect. It's not a scary movie, but yeah. Yeah, definitely that bad, Zero.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Okay. Shit. Sorry, I was gonna
Okay,
lead into
that's
another
fine.
question. I didn't have one. You
Let me-
mentioned
let me
Event
just-
Horizon. Sorry.
Oh, okay, yeah. Chat has mentioned Event Horizon as
Event
well.
Horizon was brought up a bunch of times. The first time I watched that, I rented it thinking it was a science fiction movie, not realizing how horrific it was going to get.
Mhm.
I have mentioned my parents are not a big fan, like won't let me watch horror stuff like that. Brian, we're the same age, so if we watched it, like I watched it not in theaters, but when it was like first on DVD. So like, I don't know, 97, 96, 98, somewhere in that
Sounds about
late
right, yeah.
90s. I rented this movie when I was down south with my grandparents, with my parents. It is a 2-bedroom apartment. Like it is a tiny little place, just big enough for us to like stay for like a week kind of a thing. And I started watching this, quickly realized what I was in for, and ended up watching it like a foot away from the TV with the TV turned to a wall, sound very, very low. I am enthralled. I have no idea why no adult was like, what the fuck is that kid doing right now? Because I must have looked ridiculous. That movie freaked me out. That movie was so good, but so scary, and I loved it. And I've seen it a couple of times since then. It's definitely one that I'd love to rewatch at some point. I wish it was a franchise so we could do it, but thankfully it's not, because it was just a one and done, really, really good film. That being
Yeah.
said, do either of you know anything about Warhammer 40,000?
Yeah, sure. I'm more of a fan of the fantasy, but whatever.
Fair enough. There is a huge online, not conspiracy theory, that Event Horizon is a prequel to the 40K universe.
Oh,
Because
that's
what
funny.
they do with that ship, where they go through the warp and
Okay.
it becomes, infected, and then they come out the other side and they're demonic, is exactly what happens to Chaos Space Marines if they
Right.
travel through the warp without their shields up. And I never would have put that together myself necessarily, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's fucking cool. Like that, might be, until Henry Cavill takes over, the closest we get to a 40K movie. And I think that's pretty
Yeah.
damn sweet. That's
It's
all I
a
have to say
cool
about
theory.
Event
I think
Horizon.
I've heard of that theory before too. I wasn't into 40K enough to make any of those connections, but recently, since I started playing Space Marine 2, it was pretty good. You know what? Speaking of like movie tie-ins and scary shit that's really good, we are going to be doing Aliens
Yep.
soon, right?
Next week, right?
So, yes, I've been watching some timelines of Aliens, and after the movie Alien comes the video game Alien Isolation, which I have played all the way through, and I highly recommend it. It is one of my favorite video game experiences ever. It's, if you're a fan of something like Dead Space, something like that, where it's a scary game, you're trying to be stealthy at times and get around, excellent game. They're making a sequel. They just announced Alien Isolation 2 will be coming out. Also, Alien Isolation is canon to the franchise of Aliens. However, Alien versus Predator is not considered canon in the Alien franchise, but it is considered
Smart.
canon in
Smart.
the Predator franchise.
Only
Isn't that
to
weird?
only to Predator's detriment, unfortunately. No, sorry,
Yes,
which
Predator's detriment, right.
which movie did you say it's after?
So So chronologically speaking, not release date, but the order, it's Prometheus, Covenant, then it's Alien, then Alien Isolation, the video game, then Aliens, the sequel
Okay.
is where it comes in. I don't know where Alien Isolation 2 is going to take place because they kind of wrapped up Ripley's daughter in that story, although there is room for it. I have read some novels of the Alien franchise that were pretty cool in the way that they were able to squeeze a little more mileage out of certain characters. There's one where Ellen Ripley does a whole thing, and at the end, they wipe her mind, her memory, put her back in the casket, and ship her off to do Alien 3. And so it takes place between Aliens and Alien 3, and she just has no memory of it. That's why there's no movie of it. But it was
Nope.
a cool book anyway. So
I mean, as a what if, sure, but I don't like that as a canon.
no, I'm glad it's not actual canon, but it was an interesting way to put her into a story one more time.
For sure.
It's a really stupid way to put her in a story one more time. But I got one more story out of Ellen Ripley, who I think is one of the best female leads in the history of cinema.
Yeah.
So we're not going to talk about. Well, we're gonna talk about Resurrection, but not right now.
Now, for the record, we've never really discussed this before. I have to assume we're all on the same page. We're gonna watch them in the. We're gonna do franchises in the order they're released, not in chronological order. Correct?
That's what I'm doing.
With the one possible exception being Star Wars, if we ever get around to that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Cool.
I thought we were gonna break
let's not
Star
ever
Wars
get around
down.
to that.
We were gonna break Star Wars down into trilogies.
We'll do
anyway.
it. Yeah, we'll do it by trilogy, but like it
Yeah,
would make
yeah.
sense to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Like those ones are numbered, whereas there might be a lot of franchises. Like Mad Max, for instance, you could told me those happen in any order whatsoever. I'd be like, yeah, okay, sure, that makes sense. Unlimited power. All right, well, I apologize. I cut you off like 10 minutes
That's
ago,
all
and
good.
you've been sitting there quietly since. What did you want to talk about?
I was just gonna switch it up a little bit. You guys were talking a lot of scary movies, and
That's kind
I
of
want
the
to talk
episode,
about
yeah.
I want to talk about a TV movie which I like to watch every year at Halloween called The Halloween Tree. Have either of you
Halloween
seen that
Tree?
movie?
No.
It's
What's that all
it's
about?
a
Enlighten me.
Bradbury. The author Ray Bradbury wrote it, and it's like super fun. It's about these kids going out for trick or treat, and they're all excited. They're getting in their costume, and they go over to their buddy's house to get the Fab Four together to go trick or treating and own the town full of candy. But when they get to the friend's house, they see him getting whisked away in an ambulance with his family, and he leaves a note saying, "Hey, I've got to go to the hospital to get my appendix out, blah blah blah, have fun without me." And then they're like going to track him down to the hospital, but while they're going through the forest, they see his spirit running through the forest, so they follow it and they think, "Oh man, this guy's just playing a trick on us." And then they end up going through time to different places of like Halloween origins, and it's like really cool, and it shows a lot of like historic accuracy of different cultures and what Halloween means to them and things, and it's like super fun. But yeah, it's just like a little TV cartoon movie, and yeah,
I want to
just
put
watch
that
it
on my
every year. I
list,
watch
man.
it
That
5 or
sounds
6 times.
good.
I was gonna say I just wrote that one down. Is that kid friendly?
So yeah, it's kid friendly. I mean, there's some like creepy stuff just because like they're following around the spirit of this kid, so they're like, is he dead? Is he gonna die? Like, do we have to catch him and save him? But yeah, it's totally kid friendly for the most part, I'd
Yeah.
say.
And
Yeah,
yes, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, Zero. Yes, I believe Alien 3 is the one in the prison. Sorry, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, no, it's just a fun little story, and you get to and Mexico, so a lot of different places in the world to learn, and it kind of like plays on the costumes the characters are wearing. So it's like the one's like a mummy, so that's where they go to Egypt to learn about mummies a little bit. One's a skeleton, so they go to Mexico to learn about the Day of the Dead festival and that kind of stuff. So it's like really fun. I think it's really well written and really well performed, and a fun little animated movie.
Nice.
Okay, Zero.
Yeah, I read that too.
Has
You
there
have
been
to grope it.
Has there been any? I mean, you say you don't really get scared by movies, so you're probably just gonna be a fun person to talk to about this. But has there been any adult
Wow.
movies that have scared either one of you? Like,
Any what
sorry, have there
movies?
been any movies that have scared you as an adult?
There's been some adult movies that have scared me.
Yeah, I realized that came out wrong.
As an adult, what has actually scared me?
I didn't mind Paranormal Activity, the first one when it
Okay.
came out.
Good one. Yeah.
I thought
yeah,
it had some
Paranormal
good
Activity.
jump scares and had some like nice effects in it. I thought they set it up really nice as like a small, enclosed space where this family's just kind of going through it. I thought it was really fun and definitely
you-
some like, oh, okay, that's kind of creepy and that kind of stuff. So
Will, what did you think of the ending of Paranormal Activity? Because Spielberg, I believe, sponsored that one, whatever, produced that one, or helped produce that one.
right.
And he stepped in at the end and changed it. And I did not like the ending. What did you think of the ending of that one?
I didn't mind it. It kind of made it kind of like a Blair Witchy type ending of like, oh, okay, so this is how it's like a found thing and how to try and make it feel real and stuff. So it was fine, but it was like, it was whatever. I think the movie as a whole was a fun experience. The end is just like a whatever. And then like there's so many other Paranormal Activities that try to like kind of attach themselves to this original, and it's kind of a weird kind of connector. And one goes way back in time as well. It gets a little strange.
Yeah. So I did like Blair Witch as an adult. That gave me goosebumps. It was pretty scary, but that's that movie that once you've seen it, it's done.
Yeah, I've only ever seen that one time.
Frost mentions Final Destination. I really didn't like the Final Destination franchise, though I've seen pretty much all of them. I kind of hated that predestination, you're going to die, and then fate is just like moving things around to make sure you die in a very painful, disgusting way. Like the girls being burnt alive in the tanning beds was kind of a horrific and grisly scene.
Yep.
And I didn't like how they bend the rules, or there weren't any rules, there was no structure to it. It was just like, you're going to die in a certain order, maybe, sometimes, sort of. I just didn't.
Yeah, it felt very much like a teen horror, like shock value. You go to watch that to be like, oh, this is gross. Like,
It's
man,
just an
these
excuse
teenagers
for
are
inventive deaths.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like whatever, but I never really got into it myself.
I will
Oh, was
say, like, if you can drive behind a lumber truck and not picture that movie, you're a better person than I am.
Well, that bothered me because I know how log trucks work and stuff, and I know that those logs aren't going to fall off like
I'm
like
sure
they do
they
in
won't.
movies.
For sure.
But it's still
that
that
drives
like,
me nuts.
I'm gonna drive fast past this guy just to be sure.
Yeah, that's kind of like in Maximum Overdrive or like Black Dog or something, where the semi truck backs up to the trailer and he hits a button and like the landing gear comes up and he drives
Right.
away with the trailer. I'm like, no, you
No.
get out.
Yeah,
You
you have
don't-
to
it doesn't
understand.
work like that.
You probably had issue with Fast and Furious when they're just driving
Oh
under
my
this.
God, don't even get me started. Don't even get me started. Hey,
It's
Frost,
possible.
Frost doesn't like The Last Exorcist. I haven't seen The Last Exorcist. I have seen the very first Exorcist, The Exorcist. I haven't seen any others. The Exorcist was one that just kind of grossed me out. Didn't necessarily scare me quite so much, but the imagery of that girl was pretty bad. And we touched on some of that kind of child demonic imagery in the last Evil Dead movie. Links in the description below if you want to check that movie out. Dan can put a card up in a corner or something, probably.
Can I? Exclamation mark movies. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, something.
We're at 98, guys. 2 more and we hit that triple digits. That's sweet,
There you
sweet. Doesn't
go.
mean a thing, triple digits.
Yeah, so the demonic stuff paints a scary picture, but didn't necessarily scare me all that much. Just kind of left me with some bad imagery that I didn't want in my head.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, it's a weird one. I recognize that it's a weird one, but it just hit me in all the right ways. Is a fairly recent movie called Fall. Now, there's nothing supernatural in this one. It's 2 girls climbing a satellite radio tower, and they
Yeah,
get
okay, I
stuck
saw a
up at the
poster
top,
for
like the
that.
ladder falls down or something. I watched this one by myself, big screen TV. My daughters really wanted to see it, and I was like, let me just preview it to see how decent it is. And I am I don't know what the phobia is called, but like I'm afraid of heights massively. And watching this on the big screen by myself when you don't know what the outcome is going to be, like when I tell you I had to look away and play MSF for my own sanity, which is weird when you have to start playing MSF for your sanity. That's a
Wow.
bad sign. But when I had to look away from the screen multiple times, like that movie was getting to me. Now the
You
second
talking
time,
about
high
that
as
making my hands
fuckophobia.
sweat.
Love it, Zero.
Mhm.
Now I watched it the second time with my kids, knowing what the outcome is, didn't bother me at all. But when you have no idea how if they're going to be okay or not, and they're like looking down and you're getting like vertigo like secondhand from the TV, it's like this movie messed me up. Now it's not a lasting fear. It's not something where you're like going to bed and having nightmares or something. But like at the time,
No.
like I was shocked how much I had to look away from the screen.
I want to check that out. Don't spoil it for me because you talking about it gave me sweaty palms.
There you go.
And that's what I want. I want that visceral reaction from a movie. I want to feel something when I watch a movie, when I'm being told a story. That's exciting. So I will check that one out too.
It's
On the-
legitimately fun because for me personally, like that is a scarier thing when it's so real versus like I'm gonna kill you in your dreams. It's like
Yeah,
okay, whatever.
On the phobia train, I actually didn't mind the movie The Descent.
Oh
It's
yes.
about a group of young ladies going caving, and they find
Solid film.
a creepy ass group of humanoid creature people in the caves, and they're like getting stuck in these small spaces and stuff. And it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I mean, it was better when they didn't show much of the creepy guys, but it was not bad overall.
I remember loving the concept of that movie. Like not so much the
Mhm.
cave diving, but like almost finding like a whole undiscovered civilization almost. Kind of. Like that kind of idea was very, very cool, very interesting. I really liked that. I remember having issues with the ending, although I don't even know that I could spoil the ending for you properly right now. I just feel like it was one of those like cheap, like, oh, kind of an endings. Does that like without saying anything to give it away, does that sound right, Will, or do you disagree? Or
Yeah, there's just some like questionable character choices, and which leads to some odd happenings once things get going, but it was okay.
fair enough.
I like The Descent. I thought it was a solid film. I enjoyed it. I know what you're talking about with the ending. Yeah, I agree.
Is it okay? We've all seen it. We've all seen it before. Whatever, crowd. I hope you guys haven't getting ruined by this. Does it end where like she's driving away?
Shut up and take my
Thank you very
money.
much. Appreciate that, Elder Jim. 3 months in a row. Greatly appreciated. Where she's driving away and like all of a sudden one of them is in like the back seat of her car or something, almost like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Or she wakes up and she's still in there and she never got away or something. I feel like she was in her car and there's one last jump scare and you're just like, that was dumb.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I mean that's a pretty tropey horror movie thing.
Maybe, but it
can't-
still
I
sucks.
couldn't tell you which one. Yeah, sure. I mean, you
Well,
can
I
blame
mean-
Friday the 13th for that shit.
Fair.
Well, that's a classic campfire horror story where the car behind her keeps flashing their lights and trying to run her off the road, and then later you find out there was somebody in the back seat and he was
They
trying
were
to
trying to
like
save their lives.
yeah,
Exactly, yeah.
it's that kind of thing. That's an old scary story, but it's a good one. There's a reason everybody knows that kind of thing and uses it. It's good material.
Fair enough.
But
Now,
yeah, I
speaking of an
remember this
ending-
being kind of weird.
Speaking of an ending that doesn't suck, and something I've wanted to talk to Brian a little bit more about, The Sixth Sense is one that I really enjoyed. Not one I go back to very often, but one that I really enjoyed when it first came out. I saw that in theaters, and I watched that maybe like 3-4 months ago with my kids, and they really enjoyed it. I think one of them mentioned like really early on, like, is he dead? And I'm like, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything, don't say anything. Brian, why do you hate this movie so much?
I'm one of the few people that saw the ending coming, and it didn't surprise me. Watching the kid's performance for me, it felt like he had like one look. He had like one emotion like the whole time, and it was kind of an annoying one. And I just felt like I was just waiting to get done with this movie so I could leave the theater, which is strange because that was done by M. Night Shyamalan, right?
Correct. It was his
Yeah,
first,
this is
yeah.
first.
his first, either his first one or his first big hit.
Right, and I'm a big fan of most of his movies. I even like Lady in
That's
the
even more
Lake and
shocking.
some of
Yeah, that is
some of the
shocking.
stuff that like some of his movies that everybody gets upset over. I'm like, they can't like they always say, "Oh, he's the next Hitchcock," and I'm like, Hitchcock didn't always have a big reveal, and neither does M. Night Shyamalan. But everybody keeps expecting it just because of The Sixth Sense kind of put him on that role. But I like a lot of his films. Whenever he has something new that comes out, I look forward to going and seeing it. I don't have the crazy expectations that it's going to be the next Hitchcock film, and so I end up enjoying them for what they are. And sometimes they're not amazing, they're just a decent story, and he's a good storyteller. He tells interesting stories that I enjoy.
I haven't seen his most recent ones, but for me, it
Trap
wasn't
was his
just
newest one, right?
Trap. I haven't seen Cabin in the Woods. I haven't seen Old, which one looked kind of interesting to
You
me.
haven't seen Cabin in the Woods?
I've seen Cabin in the Woods. I haven't seen whatever the M. Night Shyamalan one is. It's something similar to that. So,
Knock at the cabin front door or something?
something like that. That one I haven't
Yeah,
seen.
I don't know
Cabin
that
in the
one
Woods
either.
is great,
Ooh,
but I have not seen
dude,
that one.
a knock at the cabin's front door, or whatever it's called. I'm probably butchering that name. I did watch that, and I think that's got
Knock
Batista?
at the cabin.
yeah, it's got Drax, the
Yeah,
guy that plays Drax.
Batista.
Is that Batista? Okay.
No, maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
Somebody's
Dave
gonna say it.
Batista. Yes.
Okay.
Dave Batista. There you go.
I was absolutely blown away by his performance doing that character, which was so unlike any other character he's ever done. I always have mad props for actors when they can take on a new and different role. He blew that one out of the park. I enjoyed that movie. I did not have a freaking clue how it was going to end the entire time. Those are some of the best ones. It could have gone any way as I watched
Yeah.
that film. Thought it was amazing. I think you guys should check that out if you have any
I'm not opposed to
inclination
it.
to it.
So I'm gonna go back because I can you're like, oh, he doesn't always make twist endings, and he might not. But in fairness, his first like 4 or 5 were all like big reveals at the end, so he kind of set
Mhm.
himself up for that.
Right, like The Village.
Signs, Unbreakable, Sixth Sense, like all of these kind of led up to
What was the
something.
one with Mark Wahlberg where people are jumping
The
off of
Happening?
buildings?
The
The
Happening.
Happening. Okay, I did
What?
not like The Happening.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of The Happening.
That's
I even
shocking.
watched it a second time to see what I wasn't understanding, and I was like, this is just dumb.
Yeah.
That was a bad story.
It was interesting imagery for the trailer. But then like once like everything beyond that first like why is everybody committing suicide in these weird ways? Then you're like, oh, I just don't care that much.
Yeah. Sorry, I hate to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but the trees didn't like us, and so they decided to kill us with perfume.
Nature's a bitch.
I mean, you can't blame the trees, though. To be fair.
Oh, I can.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, we are unlikable as a bunch, but I don't kill
No,
us.
I can blame the writing of that film is what I can blame. That was terrible writing. I
Oh,
actually
man.
I saw a theory about The Happening that took away the idea that it was the trees and actually framed it as mass hysteria, and it gave evidence of when mass hysteria has actually caused people to do crazy things and kill themselves and do all kinds of weird stuff. And it was like, this is just like the worst case of mass hysteria ever. Everybody thinks that they're dying for whatever reason they want to believe it. And then in the end, Mark Wahlberg just like kind of decides to go walk out in the grass and he's fine. And it's like he broke the cycle of mass hysteria.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really cool way to frame it, and it made the movie a little bit more fun. But of course, that's not what they were really intending when they wrote it, and it was a terrible movie.
I'd
It
have to
doesn't
check.
fix Marky Mark's horrible acting either.
What?
No, it didn't.
No. I'd have to go back and check the dates on it, but right around the same time, I don't know if it was before or after, there was a Marvel Comics series in the Ultimate Universe where Galactus comes to Earth. But instead of sending Silver Surfer, he sends a psychic wave. And so basically everybody on Earth gets hit this psychic wave, which tells them what's coming. And
Yeah.
a lot of people start taking the Happening way out. And I thought that kind of goes along with what you were just talking about like the mass hysteria kind of a thing, where they're just like, oh, we're going to get eaten by a giant being. F that, I'll jump off the building.
Right? Okay.
And it was not my favorite interpretation of Galactus or anything. It was just one of those like that also just kind of stuck with me, and you were talking about it and it's like, yeah, I'll bring that up. Anyways. Are there any movies you can think of, like Halloween movies, that are maybe not scary but are just good ghost stories for you? So what I mean by that is there's one that I've seen with Nicole Kidman called The Others. Have you seen it?
Yeah, the others. Okay.
It's not a scary
Yeah.
movie by any stretch. It's
Mhm.
mysterious maybe at best, but it's a period piece set back in late 1800s of this woman with her kids living in this mansion. Her husband's gone off to war. If I knew what war it was, that would really help with the time of the piece, but whatever. And she is in a house that she's realizing is haunted by ghosts. Now, there's a twist ending at the end that I won't reveal. I'll leave it alone. But it was one of those ones where I really liked it the first time. And then I watched it again with my kids, and it's like, when you know what that twist is, it doesn't really hold up for me. But the first time I watched it, I loved it. And it is just a classic ghost story. It is just an interesting story. It doesn't rely on gore or jump scares or anything. It is just a supernatural story that I thought was really, really well written, really well done. But it, like Blair Witch, it's just a one and done, unfortunately. Do you have anything like that?
I think for myself, there's a movie that always kind of sticks out to me. And it's not the best movie by any means, but for some reason it just kind of hit for me, and I don't know why. It's called Stir of Echoes with Kevin Bacon.
Okay.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, Stir of Echoes was solid.
And it kind of is like a kind of in the same vein of kind of a ghosty girl in there. Like he gets hypnotized at this party or whatever, and then he starts seeing this like image of a ghost girl or a murder, and he's just like gets so obsessed with finding out what it is, and he's just like digging up his house and just relentless, like to exhaustion until he like finds this body. And there's just like some really cool imagery of like fingernails breaking and like face over like plastic, and it's just really stuck with me, as well as Kevin Bacon just filling his fridge with orange juice and just guzzling cartons of orange juice in his kitchen. And for some reason, I love me a cold guzzle of orange juice, so it just really stuck with me. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed that movie.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
him smashing through the floor with the sledgehammer was really cool. Yeah, I definitely like Stir of Echoes. That was when the 6 Steps from Kevin Bacon or whatever was popular. At
6
that
Degrees,
time.
yeah.
6 Degrees from Kevin Bacon. Zero, I 100% agree with your Ashton Kutcher comment from chat earlier. Nailed it. 100% nailed it for me. I agree exactly. I like the butterfly effect and all the other stuff you said too.
I didn't even like Butterfly Effect, to be perfectly honest. And I don't feel like I've got anything against Ashton Kutcher. I've just never seen him in something that I liked.
Well, it wasn't his performance in Butterfly Effect, but rather the time sequencing in Butterfly Effect, how things happened, and then later you saw why they happened, and they happened because of him going forward and backward through time.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting story that played out. I love time travel stories, so that was cool. You mentioned though some other scary stuff that maybe we liked. I'm a big fan of the old school Unsolved Mysteries TV show. I especially like the alien abductions and the ghost stories. The other ones I didn't really care so much for, but the ghost stories especially, I love the way they told that story. I love the guy's voice, Murray or whatever his name was, I forget. He was amazing. We used to watch that as a kid. They scared the heck out of me. They were fantastic. It made me believe in ghosts back then. I don't anymore, but back then I was really thinking the ghosts had to be real because there were all of these encounters and it was on TV, right? So
You just reminded me. I wanted to mention it last week's episode and I totally blanked. I didn't really get a chance to. But the little girl in Evil Dead Rise, where she's like, "Do you believe in ghosts?" No. Have you ever seen one? No. Then how do you know they're not real? I'm like, that logic does not hold up in my brain.
right, right. That's
It's just one of those random moments where I'm like, what?
It's like where you use the person's argument against them before they can get to it, because it's like, have you ever seen them? No. Then how do you know they exist? And it's like, have you ever seen them? No. Then how do you know they're not real? It's like, well,
There's lots of things okay.
yeah.
For TV shows, did you guys in the States, did you have a show called, I know probably will know what I'm talking about. Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Classic Canadian.
Yeah, I remember that. I don't remember if did I watch that or not.
It was a show with a bunch of kids that would get together in the middle of the woods and tell each other ghost stories. And then it would actually show the ghost story and whatnot. And I'm sure nowadays it'd be super tame. But as a kid, that show was incredible. It was just the perfect line of creepy, otherworldly, but not too dark. It was on television, right? It had to be tame, but it would still get me every now and then.
I remember
similar
that
vibe to
I don't remember
Goosebumps when they did Goosebumps TV series.
Right. Yeah.
Except for those were based on the books, whereas I think Are You Afraid of the Dark was strictly a TV series.
Okay, The Burbs with Tom Hanks.
Mm.
Not a scary movie, kind of a Halloween-ish movie because of the scary, spooky house that they go into.
Yep.
But what a fantastic film. I enjoyed that so much. Whenever that I find that playing on TV or something, I just stop and watch at least an hour of it.
Yeah.
The Burbs was just great. Somebody
Yeah.
mentioned The Frighteners. The Frighteners.
Yeah. Michael J. Fox, represent Canada.
There we go. Yeah, that was solid.
Yeah, my wife really likes that movie. I always like Michael J. Fox, so we watch that one a lot during Halloween season. Not every year, but definitely comes every couple of years. We watch The Frighteners for sure.
Nice.
Lots of fun ghosts, and for the time, the special effects were pretty creepy with like the faces going through the walls and stuff like that. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Is that the one
Do-
with is it Angelina? No, not Angelina Jolie. Oh shoot. The girl from Entrapment. Antonio Banderas. Oh fuck me. What's her name?
Somebody get this man IMDb. Dingo's
Anyways, the one where they're
mentioned-
stuck in a haunted house for the night, and they're trying to survive.
No.
Is that one? No. Okay.
No, this
No.
one's where like
Oh.
a serial killer.
Catherine
kinda comes
Zeta-Jones. Thank
back.
you, Hotep. You and me, buddy.
Catherine
You and me.
Zeta, Yeah. No, this one's slightly different.
Okay.
Dingo's mentions The Shining.
Classic.
Yeah, of course, right? It's an amazing film. I really enjoyed when they did the remake of The Shining, and they did it as like a 3-part TV miniseries, I think, or something. Maybe I'm misremembering, but it had like the guy from Wings. I can't remember his name. Wings is a TV show that no one's gonna know. I don't know why
Somebody
I'm
get this guy
referencing it.
I know
IMDb.
Wings.
Somebody get this guy IMDb, please.
Of course, I know
I'm
Wings.
too far away from my keyboard, so I wouldn't be able to type anything anyway.
You don't have your
Um,
costume as a complaint anymore.
Yeah, I should probably move up a little closer, but whatever. I really liked the remake of it. I liked that they used a mallet instead of an axe, and there was,
Was it
some.
Steven Weber?
I think so. That sounds right.
Yeah, the main guy of Wings, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I never saw the remake. I know Stephen King was a bigger fan of it. He had historically large complaints with the original version, with the Jack Nicholson version.
Right.
Which once you read the book, I kind of do too, but I still do enjoy it so much that I do go back to it more often.
The remake was a much better portrayal of the book.
Yeah, my
Mhm.
understanding
And I
is
think they called it Stephen King's The Shining. I think that was the name of it.
yeah, my understanding is that the father figure is supposed to be a sympathetic, loving father, and then is driven crazy. Whereas in the Stanley Kubrick version, he's kind of an asshole from the very beginning, and you just kind of see him like it's not a drastic change. He just kind of goes from like here to here. He's just like, I'm kind of a dick. Nah, I'm really a dick. And then before he's like, I'm a loving father who might go crazy.
Yeah.
But-
Well, in Jack Nicholson's defense, his wife was really whiny. You know, she was like
still
Very
just gonna beat the
homely
crap out of
woman.
her, yeah.
Very homely.
a very homely woman, as we declared before. Yes,
As you declared before. Let's
Yeah,
be
you declared.
perfectly
None
clear
of
here.
us.
it was
None
on
of
your
us would
channel,
ever
Dan.
say
It was
that.
on your channel.
Yeah. Doesn't make it my fault. Twitch, go after him, not me.
All right. Briefly, I want to say briefly. Brian mentioned Unsolved Mysteries. He liked the Aliens episodes and things like that. It just like popped a movie into my mind that I really love, but I don't think many people saw, and I don't think it was super well received. But it's a movie called Fire in the Sky.
I was thinking Fire in the Sky. Yeah, love it.
I love that movie. It's like based on true events where this guy gets abducted by aliens. He's like a logger or something out in the forest or something, right?
Yeah.
And him and his group of friends are out there. They get caught at night and he gets abducted. And just the scenes of the abduction are like super crazy. He's got like this weird skin-like stuff wrapped all over his body.
Slime
And, like
stuff all over him.
tear, they like cut through it to see his eyeball, and they like put goop in his eye, and then they bring the needle down, just like insert it into his
yeah.
eyeball, and it's like so gives you the shivers just watching it. And then it like cuts back to him like he's just remembering this, and it just cuts back to him like under the table shivering, like just remembering all this. And then yeah, the whole show is just like him trying to prove that these events actually happen and nobody really believing him and things like that. And I don't know, it was like I thought it was a really fun movie, as far as like fun being like it had some impactful scenes.
Fire in the Sky was a fantastic movie. As you were starting to talk about that, I was like, I wonder if he's thinking Fire in the Sky. I like that for all the reasons you just labeled. The abduction scenes were crazy. There was another film that was about some kids being abducted, some teens being abducted. And they make jokes about aliens giving them an enema in the beginning of the story. And at the very end of the story, one of the teens is abducted by the aliens, and they have this horrifying machine that gives him an enema. And it was so gross and disgusting. And it was a very violent one where the aliens, they weren't like abducting him for science reasons. They were like abducting him and torturing him and stuff. It was really
Right,
graphic. And I didn't like that one at all. But it was an alien abduction film. I guess it wasn't so much scary as it was just graphically violent and left some
Right.
imagery in my head that I can't get rid of.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Fire in the
What-
Sky was good. I liked it anyway.
So when it comes to horror movies, scary movies, Halloween movies, however you want to word it, is there a subgenre that you guys gravitate more towards, whether it be like the kind of monster, the kind of psychological, maybe found footage, like what is it that'll, like, if you see a trailer, what's the most likely reaction you're gonna have? Like, is it zombies? Is it scary movies? Is it like a horror, like a teen slasher? Like what would get you the most excited if I just randomly threw an image at you right now?
I can answer that straight away. You might know already, I'm a big fan of Army of Darkness, and that's because I enjoy the meld of comedy and horror. And so, other great Halloween or horror movies that include that are What We Do in the Shadows is an incredible film, like a documentary, mockumentary style film following these small group of vampires and how they are struggling to get by day to day, and it's hilarious. What else falls into that category? The Frighteners fell into that category a little bit. Death Becomes Her. Love Death Becomes Her. Super dark comedy about, just searching out that elixir of life.
Did you like Tucker and Dale versus Evil?
Love Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I went to university with one of the actors in that movie. Love that movie. Super fun, super campy, but hits on all the right notes. Cabin in the Woods, same deal. Just a great dark comedy horror movie.
Yeah,
That's my bag. That's kind of like I gravitate towards that immediately. Not that I don't like a straight up, dark horror movie, but I just love the comedy elements that people can pull out of horror and keep it fun and scary and all of those things all at once.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you did say that during that episode, and I kind of wanted to go back on it because the only one I could think of was Cabin in the Woods. I'm like, what else is there that's like comedy horror? But I'm glad you went through that list. What about you, Brian?
I like stories that scare me through storytelling, not through graphic violence or pain or anything like that. Jump scares are nice. Jump scares don't always get me, but when a jump scare works, man, it really works.
Yeah.
And I like it. Otherwise, sometimes it's just loud noises that hurt my ears when I'm watching a movie late at night with
Right.
earbuds on,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
phone's right in front of my face. But when jump scares work, they're great. But I prefer storytelling that scares me. So paranormal activities, ghost stories, those are fantastic. You're always creeped out. The suspense that just keeps building and won't ever let go of you until finally the credits roll. Those are fantastic. When you feel like you need to just walk out of the room and breathe a little bit after watching a movie that's real intense like that. I love those kinds of films. Blair Witch did it for me one time, and then it just can't really work for you again. I guess. Yeah, it's. A lot of, I guess, found footage movies do tend to work, usually like the first one in a series, but never the sequels in found footage ones. I do kind of hate found footage, though. I don't like all that shaky camera stuff. I liked
Agreed.
Cloverfield,
Yep.
but it pushed what I could handle with all the shaky camera and running around and stuff. I kind of just at times need a little bit of a break from it where I could see things without stuff being complete amateur footage all the time. But yeah, storytelling that scares me is the stuff that really works for me.
There was a found footage one. I can't think of what it is. I can't think of anything about it, but I feel like I watched a found footage movie like this year that I'd never seen before, and I was like, that was done well. Like that was really, really good. I can't think what it is at the moment. Not Cloverfield, not Blair Witch, nothing like that. But yeah, I would agree. Most of the time, found footage films just don't. I mean, they're interesting. Blair Witch was really good. Cloverfield was really good. But there's a lot of them where you're just like, nah, I'm past. Like this is just too much. It's too.
Yeah.
I don't want to get a headache watching a film.
Yeah, I like how it puts you in the perspective of some of them, but a lot of times it's like you're watching a camera that's dangling from a strap as they're running through the street and you can't see anything. You're just hearing stuff and it's giving you a headache and it's a little too much. Cloverfield pushes that limit a lot because there's lots of buildings blowing up and they're running a lot, and it's a lot of hearing the monsters and stuff. But you get into the other portions of the Cloverfield franchise, which is Cloverfield Lane. Some really good storytelling. Was it John Candy in it? Not John Candy. John Goodman?
John Goodman.
John Goodman.
John Goodman.
John
Yeah,
Goodman. He did an excellent job acting as a lunatic, and that was cool. And where the story ends up landing was an interesting take. I think it could have had a better ending. And then, of course, you had the Cloverfield Paradox, which I thought was going to be scarier than it was. And it had some really creepy stuff, but they kind of like explained it so much that it was like, okay, I understand it. If I didn't quite understand it as well, or I was wondering what was going on, I think the Cloverfield Paradox would have been much more scary.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm a bigger fan of 10 Cloverfield Lane myself. One, John Goodman, you can do no wrong in my books. He's incredible.
Well, and the acting was far better in that movie, right?
Yeah, and it wasn't like until they dangle it at the end, spoiler alert, that it's in the same world and there's alien invasion or whatever, which was like so stupid. Like this was a nice, again, single location, beautiful story. And by beautiful, I mean like totally disgusting.
Yeah.
But you could like feel it and you could feel the claustrophobicness of it. And I thought that was really, really well done. The whole ending to me is like, oh God, J.J. Abrams, just get out of my life forever, please and thank you. You're the worst.
J.J. Abrams is phenomenal at starting a story. He has never once
can never finish.
Never once landed the ending ever.
I think that's a great way to
fight me. I don't care. So. Give me a single example and I'll back down. But
I think we're all in agreement. For once, we agree with you, Dan.
Woo! Got there. All right, that's the end of the show, guys. We're never doing this again.
There's supposed to be another Cloverfield movie. I believe I don't know if it's green lighted or if they're just rumors of it putting together, but they want a direct sequel to the first Cloverfield movie. And it's presumed that it's either going to be someone else's perspective on that monster attack that helps to bring in and include more of the surrounding story, like Cloverfield Lane, like the Cloverfield Paradox. But it could also be a different monster attack in a different city. But they want to try and shore up all the movies and include them all together somehow. But they need another movie to do that, and they're trying to make that happen.
Yeah.
All right.
I had a follow-up. Sorry, go ahead.
Brian was talking about like psychological type thriller or kind of like paranormal stuff, and I feel like this is kind of somewhat of a leeway or segue into that, but not really a horror movie by any means, but just like a thriller that I really enjoy. And because I'm on the John Goodman train, I can't stop. Have either of you seen Fallen?
Yeah, somebody mentioned that in chat a while ago, and I wanted to talk about it.
Oh, did they?
And it just kind of kept moving.
Fallen
is
so
Denzel
Washington, John Goodman, Donald Sutherland,
and the demon that can like move from person to person.
They follow the demon Azazel. It's so good. It's like such a good thriller, and to me that makes me on edge, where it's like, oh, you just watch it like traveling person to person, and they're like looking back and glaring and just with that knowing smile that you'll never fucking get me. Like it's so good
when he's singing the song going through the crowd.
Yeah, and whistling and whatever, and it's just like, right to the bitter end. You're like, oh man, how is this ever gonna end? Like,
Yeah.
there's no way. And I thought it was like a really fun movie in the right ways of making like a thriller and like trying to make a demon like a tangible thing. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoyed that one. I've gone back to it a couple of times. Again, I don't know that it would be horror per se, but it does involve a demon. It's definitely supernatural. It probably like
Yeah.
if you were in a blockbuster, it would probably be in the horror section. But like I
Yeah,
definitely don't think there's any like jump scares or anything scary about it per se. It's just a
No.
really solid movie with a good story.
Yeah, it just kind of, when Brian was talking about those things, kind of got me into that zone. And
Yeah.
it's definitely not something I watch every Halloween, but it's just like,
Yeah.
I definitely, if I'm in the mood, it's a really good movie to watch once in a while.
If
A
if
lo-
you guys like the demonic possession kind of thing, you should definitely check out Nefarious. I've mentioned this one before. Demonic possession of an inmate who willingly gave over his soul to a demon, and the demon now torments him endlessly. Basically, does horrible things and then leaves him to deal with the punishment of all these things that are going horribly wrong. He's trying to
Right.
convince people that he's possessed, and a psychologist has to come visit him and figure out whether he is truly insane or if he's faking it to try and get out of the death penalty. And of course, you start to find out that, hey, maybe this guy really is possessed. And it all takes place in one room. It's a lot of amazing dialogue. The psychologist doesn't do the most amazing job in the film, but it's passable. It doesn't take you out of it. But the inmate, the guy that plays the inmate, is a phenomenal job. It is super creepy, super scary, leaves you with chills, just horrifying ideas that take place and are played out in front of you. Definitely something I think anybody who's interested in scary movies, especially possession movies, check that one out.
Nice. Not so much possession, but definitely psychological. Have either of you seen Get Out?
Ooh,
Oh,
good
yeah.
one. Yeah.
I love Get Out. Get Out, like more so than Shyamalan even, definitely makes me feel kind of Hitchcocky vibes. Like just everything in that movie is so well thought out, down to like little insignificant, couldn't matter less moments, like the kind of snack that she's eating when she's on the computer and stuff like that. Like everything about that movie just works. It all goes in the same direction. Never find it scary per se. And honestly, this might sound terrible. Maybe that's because I'm a white person, but like I don't know. Like it doesn't spook me. It doesn't scare me like say Us or something else does. But like from a psychological perspective, just an absolute like instant classic for me. Like one that I've definitely gone back to and just poured myself into. Like I
Yeah.
really enjoy that one.
I think the part of the beauty of that movie is, as a privileged AF white man, it shows you what people of color can go through, and you can totally relate to it through watching that movie. So for
Yeah.
me, I was like, I thought they did a really good job of that, being like, oh, okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
see how it
It,
is,
it
and that
subtly
feels
reframes the
horrible.
argument in a different way, and you think about those kind of things in a different way, and suddenly you are afraid. You feel their fear. Not to mention the acting was so fantastic in that film. Some of the scenes where they just show the fear in their own face really draws you in, really brings you in, and you're able to put yourself in their shoes, empathize with them, and
Mhm.
it scares the bejesus out of you.
Yeah.
And that's a
I
possession.
saw
That's
Us.
kind
Us
of
was
possession.
good
Kinda.
too. I haven't seen Nope yet though. I've heard good things, but I haven't seen it.
I didn't
I watched.
personally care for Nope. I thought Us was
Yeah.
fine. Us is less maybe less of a classic. It's more of a fun movie. Like Us is the kind of thing you could put on in the background and just kind of like catch a scene here and there and enjoy it. Where I feel like Get Out, if you put on, you're probably gonna like be glued to the TV.
What was Us?
Us is the one with the, how do I describe it?
The underground clones, I
duplicates,
guess.
the clones.
Yeah.
So like it follows a black woman and her family as they go away to a beachside resort, and all of a sudden they are standing outside of their house looking in at them and like threatening them. And like
Oh, okay. You had me at clones. I haven't seen this. Don't spoil it for me. I'm definitely gonna be
I'll
checking out
stop
Us.
there. It's
I'm
done by the
definitely
Yeah,
same
checking out
yeah.
Us.
director. But it's
Definitely
much more
enjoyable.
of a slasher, and just give it a shot and enjoy.
Okay,
Mhm.
they cloned Tyrone. if you haven't seen this movie,
That
you
has
need
been
to go-
recommended to me so many times. I have not checked it out yet.
Okay, Jamie Foxx takes the award for the best pimp in history. I'm sorry, his performance as Slick Richard was the most amazing pimp portrayal I have ever seen in my life. I don't know if anyone could ever top it. And awesome movie, how it goes from point A into a sci-fi clone, crazy abduction, weird movie. Just amazing. They clone Tyrone. Just go watch it.
So is it like a Multiplicity remake or?
No. It's kind of an Us thing where they're being
Right.
replaced with clones, kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
But the acting, oh my God, the characters that they portray, you end up with basically 3 lead characters, and it moves, the spotlight moves from one to another, and it's almost like they keep upstaging each other until you don't know who's the star of this film. These characters are amazing. I'm rooting for all of them. I don't know who's going to survive. I don't know where it's going to end up. I thought it was great, though. It was really good.
Cool.
Multiplicity was a fun movie, though, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very different though. Very different.
Yeah, totally different, but yeah, it's fun.
I knew it was. I just thought it'd be funny to say. All right. Well, what else you got for us, Dan?
Okay, I'm gonna steal one from Brian actually.
Okay.
You mentioned Clooney Agent that you don't watch a lot of remakes, and I understand and respect that to a point.
I already know what movie you're gonna say.
Yeah, you do, because you probably saw the same list that Brian showed me. Where do you
I would
land?
have guessed this even without seeing Brian's list, I think.
That's fair. So where do you land with it? Have you seen the remake? Have you seen the original?
I have. I enjoyed the first remake movie. The second one, not so much. The first one was great. The kids were great in it. The build-up was great. It was super well done. Do I miss what's his name? The clown, Tim
Curry.
Pennywise.
what's his
Tim Curry.
What's that?
Pennywise.
Tim Curry.
Tim
yeah,
Curry.
I wanted the actor.
Sorry, yeah,
Tim
Tim Curry.
Curry's original. I still prefer his Pennywise to Seagraves or whatever his name is. Not the Seagraves. I can't remember his name either. Either way, his was fun and creepy in its own way, but I just love the really twisted nature of Tim Curry. I just think he's a great character actor. But the first remake was very well done. The second one really wasn't for me. I just kind of flatlined. And so I think I still prefer the OG overall.
And I agree with Cleaning Agent sentiments exactly. No one's going to beat Tim Curry. In my opinion, Tim Curry is one of the gods of acting. I mean, if anybody's ever seen Clue, you're like, okay, I'm a Tim Curry fan for life. Rocky Horror Picture Show, just
Amazing.
the list goes on. His
Mhm.
facial expressions, his emotion, what he can put into his characters is unlike anybody else. So his portrayal of what is synonymous with people's fear of clowns is just incredible. He made Pennywise the scariest clown ever. And we've got clowns now called, I don't know, what is it, like the stalker or whatever that one clown is who just walks around looking all scary and never says anything. I forget, there's like 3 movies and one just came out.
Terrifier?
The Frightening or whatever. Terrifier, yeah. Yeah, he's so terrifying I couldn't remember what fucking movie he was in. Sorry. Didn't really care for it, but
Never saw it,
Pennywise was
probably never
amazing.
will.
Yeah. So Pennywise by Tim Curry, amazing. I agree. The child actors landed the first one, the first half of the remake, and there were some sequences, even though there was so much CGI in it, it scared me. That clown jumping off of the screen at them, and the kids really drew me in with their acting, made me feel I forgot I was watching a movie. I was in the room with them, and it was scary as shit. And so I liked that. And then the second movie, for whatever reason, it just didn't have it. Like, I don't know. I can't even put my finger on what it was, but I felt like I was watching a movie through the whole second one. Like I never got into it. And it just, I don't know what happened.
I would actually agree with most of what you guys are saying. I don't know that I disliked the second one, but I don't remember it nearly as well, despite watching it more recently than the first. Like, I feel like the
There
first
you go.
one stuck with me a lot more, has more scenes that just like, I mean, say what you will about CGI versus practical effects, but some of those effects were fucking good and they creep me out even as an adult. You're just like, okay, that worked. Like, it's jump scares, but sometimes jump scares are fun. Um, I remember reading the book around the time, like probably right after the first one came out to after the second one came out, because I'm a very slow reader and the book is like 10,000 pages. Uh, it was an interesting read. It's a really weird book, and I feel like the new one maybe got it a little bit more accurate to what the book was going for than the Tim Curry version, but like you can't take, as
Right.
you guys have said, you can't take anything away from Tim Curry's acting. Like, even if the effects don't hold up as well in 2024, who cares? It's a masterclass in acting. Just go and watch his performance.
Hmm.
It's absolutely spellbinding. Would I show it to my kids? No, not anytime soon. But it's a fun one. It's one that you definitely can go back to.
Yeah, it's good.
Real Bubba Hotep, I have not seen the clown. That sounds very interesting, but I have seen, and I think these guys have probably seen it too, and you probably know where I'm going to go now. Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Never seen it.
Yeah, someone mentioned it. Yeah,
What? Dan
so
hasn't seen Killer
funny.
Clowns from Outer Space?
What?
Oh,
Dan
that's
hasn't
too
seen a
bad.
horror movie from the 80s? That's so weird and off-brand.
No, I'm just saying, like, it seems like a classic film that so many people talk about. I just figured you would check it out, and it's one that makes you laugh. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
It's one
not
that
scary
I'd have
at
to
all.
watch in a similar way to how I watched Evil Dead. You know what I mean? Like, I'd have to watch it with a couple of buddies and enjoy
Right?
it.
Yeah.
But
No,
to sit in my
that's
basement
fair.
and turn it on, there's no way. And watching something like that with my kids, having not previewed it, there's no way. So like,
Mm.
in the right situation, sure. Other than that, meh.
Hmm.
That's
Green
fair.
Tuckian asks if anyone has seen the remake of Salem's Lot. I have not, and I'm very curious about. I need to go back and watch the first one because I can't even remember it. I know I saw it a long time ago, but I can't remember it. I'd like to watch the old one and then go back and see the new one.
Mhm.
One that I did watch recently, it's kind of like Salem's Lot. It's what was it called? It's by the same people that made The Fall of the House of Usher, and
Mike
I
Flanagan?
actually want what?
No. Yeah, Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, what was the one that he did about the vampires? The previous series that he did.
Midnight Mass.
There we go. Midnight Mass.
Mm.
Midnight Mass starts out real slow, had an ending that I didn't see coming, told a great story, was really solid. I'm not even a big fan of vampires, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
The reason I went and saw Midnight Mass is because I watched The Fall of the House of Usher, and that is one of my favorite TV miniseries of all time, I
Really?
think. One of. So good. Such amazingly creepy ideas, trying to figure out what's going on. And the horror of the movie was in the atrocities that these people could commit.
Yeah.
And then the punishment that they received because of the life that they lived wasn't even enough. You know, there's sequences where he's looking out the window and she says, this is what you have caused. And he's looking out and it is raining bodies. And it's just endless downpour of bodies falling from the sky, representing the countless millions of people that he has ruined their lives and murdered them. And the look as he looks out that window and sees this rain of bodies is so astounding because he's both appalled at what he did and he's also a little bit excited at how impactful a life he led, even though it was a horrifying life. It's like almost exciting to him. Just moments like that those characters portrayed in that show were really good. And we see some of that in Midnight Mass. I think Midnight Mass, they were just getting their feet wet in the storytelling and acting, really took it up a notch in the fall of House of Usher.
So I'm actually going to go the opposite direction on that. House of Fall of Usher is probably one of my least favorite of the Mike Flanagan shows.
Yeah.
Go back to, and there's two of them that are very similar. I think it's not House on Haunted Hill. It's Haunting of Hill House. Haunting of Hill House. I
Okay.
really liked of his. Should be able to find it on Netflix. I really, really enjoyed that one. For me, Fall of Usher, it got a little inconsistent by the end. Like some of the deaths didn't necessarily make sense to how they live their lives, or like the punishments didn't really seem to fit the crime as well. It's been a little bit too long. I don't have the examples in front of me, but I remember watching with my wife and being like, "This is really cool," and then about halfway through the series, we're like, "That doesn't really." Okay, well, all right. Well,
Like,
we made it this far. We'll keep
why
going.
did you get beat up by a monkey? Like, well, how does that fit?
Yeah,
There were a few where you felt like they deserve something different or worse or not so bad. Like, yeah, um, but still was graphic and violent and horrifying and scary to me.
Yeah.
I just
the main character, not the main characters, the two people sitting in the house, not the reporter, but the actual like house of the head of the Usher family. Like his acting is worth
Yeah.
watching for that entire series. Like he was so good, and when he's just having soliloquies of people that aren't in the room, and you're just like,
mhm.
well done, I like it. I did like Midnight Mass quite a bit. I would say definitely the weakest of the Mike Flanagan shows was Midnight Club, I think it is, which is ironically the only one that was supposed to have a sequel series, and they canceled it because it just did not do very well. It was just bad.
I never saw Midnight Club, and
Don't.
you said the Haunting of Hill House was.
I believe
thought I
Haunting of Hill
saw-
House was the first one.
I thought I saw a movie, The Haunting of Hill House, but I don't remember any series, The Haunting
I
of Hill
might
House.
have to find that title out and get back to you, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
it's called The Haunting of Hill House.
And why are we not DMing these movies back and forth to us in Discord? Because I'm going to have to go back. Oh, I know why. Because Dan wants me to go back and watch the VOD or watch the video that he puts on YouTube. Links in the description below. And
if you can subscribe too, that'd be wonderful, so you don't have to get the ads.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell.
Not
while
just
you're
the
at it.
audience, my co-hosts too.
Yeah, he just wants the extra view, which I'll probably go back and watch it to remember these. Yeah.
Oh. Have you seen any
I
of these
think
shows
there's
we're
both.
talking about, the Mike
The-
Flanagan ones, Will?
No, I'm not. TV has just fallen off for me. Like, there's some great TV out nowadays, but I just don't have time to like commit to a lot of TV series.
Fair.
So I just pass on a lot, unfortunately.
The nice thing about these is they're like 7 or 8 episodes. They're not like 20 seasons or anything. You know what I mean? Like they are
Right.
They are a long
Yeah,
movie essentially.
You think of it like a 7-hour movie with bathroom breaks.
Right.
Commander
That's
Frost
totally
saying there
fair.
is a movie, but it's also a series. So I've not seen
Okay,
the movie.
correct, yeah.
I would check out the series.
I'll have to go back and take a look.
Sharky, I'd love a list of these movies in the Discord. Hint, hint. I'll do what I can, Sharky. One that I know is going to be well loved because we've talked so much about practical effects, and if you don't know what I'm talking about already, I don't know how to help you. Will is 1982's The Thing.
I don't know what I'm talking.
Just an
Yeah.
absolute powerhouse, such a classic. I don't even have good enough things to say about it. One of my favorite personal Kurt Russell movies. Practical effects still hold up despite the fact that they're absolutely ludicrous at the same time.
In fact, the sequel would have been better if they would have gone with the practical effects instead of the CG.
I never
I
even
would've
watched the
loved
sequel
it.
because I was just like, I feel like it might be one of those sequels that just hurts the original as opposed to helps it in any way.
The sequel was good, except that
Really?
they went real full throttle CGI at the end for the big climatic finish, and I didn't like that. And there was a lot of CGI throughout the film where they didn't need to. They should have gone with the practical effects. The practical effects are what made the original so good.
Green Tuck, and we're talking about The Thing from 1982.
Kurt Russell, yeah.
There you go, Will. I'm assuming you've seen this, Will. You're shockingly
You know
silent.
what? I haven't seen it for probably 30 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I have to go back and revisit because I do remember enjoying it. I mean, it's John Carpenter. Like it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
It's a franchise. It's a franchise.
Oh, I guess
It is
technically it
franchise.
is.
We
I guess
could.
technically.
It
It is
I mean, just-
also the precursor to your costume, the Among Us.
Yeah, and they added they just remastered the video game that came out a while back. I remember playing the video game and it was good back then. They remastered it. It's like in 4K now. It's kind of crazy. So might be worth.
Legit
Check it
didn't
out.
know there was
Yeah.
a good video game based on it, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's solid video game. Takes
I mean,
place
again,
after
Among Us.
the original.
Yeah, the John Carpenter movie I watch probably almost every Halloween is Halloween. So that's my go-to John Carpenter movie.
Fair enough. John Carpenter.
Yeah.
No, that's Wes Craven. Never mind. I almost had a segue. We were trying there.
Oh, for Scream? For
That's
Scream?
exactly where I was going to go with that one.
Yeah. I mean,
I was
Scream's
wondering when we were
classic
gonna get
too.
to Scream.
Well, you kind of
Yeah.
have to talk about Scream if you're going to talk about scary movies, as it really picked apart the genre in a really good way, as well as started the scary movie franchise to some extent. And it does a great job of being a very scary movie while also commenting on scary movies. This one came out for the perfect time for me. It was like 96 or something. Like I was just getting into high school, getting to the point where, you can rent the scary movies by yourself kind of a thing. I remember watching this one by myself, loving it, recommending it to my friends. Didn't really keep up with the series though. I feel like I saw 2 and 3, and then I kind of like, it's a trilogy, it's done, and then like 4, 5, and 6 came out, and I'm like, I think I'm fine. I think I'm good. But I'd probably go back to see 1 again in a heartbeat. Like
yeah. Scream is one of those, how we talk about horror movie franchises that kind of go like this and then drop hard. I feel
Mhm.
Scream is fairly consistent overall. It does a pretty good job. They even have there was a TV series for Scream for a little while there as
I
well.
forgot about that, but yeah.
But yeah, and I think there's a new Scream coming with what's her name is back. They dropped her because they wouldn't pay her enough money at one point.
The Wednesday
Um,
actress?
Yeah.
No, the original.
Oh, Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell, yeah.
Doesn't she have
Yeah, they're
I apologize. Doesn't she have like Parkinson's or something degenerative? I thought she had some health
I
concerns.
don't know. That might be. I think that's Michael J. Fox, but that could be her as well.
Okay, of course, Michael J. Fox is the only person to ever get Parkinson's. My bad. How stupid of me. They should have just named it after him, really.
Probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But that being said, yeah, Scream's fun because of the way they kind of poke fun at horror movie genres and slasher flicks, and it's pretty cool. The first couple were really good for that, and then it kind of just got to be more of the same, which is, if you enjoy it, great. If not, you can pass on it pretty easily.
And hey, they had a classic Jay and Silent Bob outside of the View Askew universe cameo in Scream 3, where they're on the lot, which made sense because, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where they go to Hollywood to stop the movie from happening. They have a little bit of a cameo in Scream 3 there, and then in Scream 3 they have a little bit of a cameo there. It was kind of like, that's pretty fun. I like that. I like that little cross-universe thing. Jay and Silent Bob happens in the Scream universe, apparently.
I like Ghostface as a slasher because you don't ever know who he is, or who they are. And he's also a little bit fallible. He trips and stumbles over things when he chases people, right? Like they throw things at him and he gets hit and he gets knocked down. And he's a little bit silly and ridiculous. And of course, when they had the Scary Movie, which made fun of Scream, I'll never forget the West Side thing, it was... I think Ghostface was a great slasher. I think that's why he's one of my favorites, is because he's so unique in that way.
Yeah.
Whereas you have like a Michael Myers, a Freddy Krueger, and a Jason, which Michael Myers to me is just a straight ripoff of Jason Voorhees, big dude with a knife that's kind of unstoppable.
Unstoppable, yeah.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger has
Didn't
a
he come
personality. It's all over the place, but what was that?
Isn't Halloween older than Friday the 13th?
I don't know.
Okay.
Let me find out.
I'm just the
I'm not
dumb
sure.
American who shows up here to be like, yeah, Vin Diesel and titties. Oh man, that's a
Friday
good
the
movie.
13th,
Use more explosions
19
though.
Yes.
I don't
Halloween
know.
was 1978, and Friday the 13th came 2 years later. But to be fair, Friday the 13th also wasn't Jason. So
that much longer before he came out. So Michael
yeah.
Myers was there a long time before. Anyways,
Michael Myers
that
was
wasn't
the
really your point.
original
I was just curious.
Unstoppable. But yes.
I do agree with what you're saying about Ghostface. Ghostface, though, because I really liked, yes, he keeps coming back, but he keeps coming back in different forms. It's a different person wearing the mask, as opposed to the Freddy Krueger who can't die, the Jason who can't die, the other guy that we just talked, Michael Myers, who can't die. And it just becomes less interesting for me. Like, me, I like having rules. I like having a winning scenario. Like, it really bothers me when movies end on a down note, not because the characters made a poor decision, but because the bad guy is literally unbeatable. And so the fact that, okay, we can kill this guy, cool, but we can still have a sequel. It'll just be somebody else wearing the mask. I really do like that. Like, that works for me in both ways.
I can see why you'd really love the Scream franchise, because they're all about the rules of horror movies,
There you
right?
go.
Like
Yeah.
they paint those pictures very much so throughout. And just
And
a big shout out to Matthew Lillard, who's
He-
just amazing.
I'm also a big fan of Matthew Lillard, and I was looking back. I've heard
He's
a couple
great.
of interviews with him recently. I'm like, I don't know why I'm such a big fan because I can only picture like 2 movies of yours that I've really enjoyed, but I enjoyed both those
Like-
movies so much that I'm just like, I'm all in. I'm all in on your entire career.
Like Scooby Doo.
That was absolutely one of them. Yes, you nailed it. You know me so well.
I mean, he's still playing Scooby Doo, so
I'm actually
still
like
doing,
the only reason I
Shaggy's
want to
voice.
watch the Five Nights at Freddy's is now I found out that he's in it. And I'm like, oh,
he's in it.
Maybe
Yeah,
I'll check that
he's in
out.
it.
But
He's just a fun actor, you know. He's just like one of those likable, fun character actors, and you just like,
Yeah.
you can just tell it's him on screen, but you just enjoy it.
yeah, see again, Bubba Hotep, you and me, bud, just like this, nailed it in one. One of the franchises that I like the idea of, but I've never really gotten into the movies that much is The Purge. Like, not like I don't like the
Yeah.
idea in real life, obviously, but like for a
Right, right.
movie, it's like that's kind of cool. But the ones that I've seen have always been like that didn't quite live up to the potential of the idea.
Well, The Purge started out great for me, and I really enjoyed the idea, but then it got manipulated into sort of a political argument, and it really just bothered me that it was like they were kind of like pushing a bit of an agenda in the film, and I wanted to get away from that. I wanted a story that involved this crazy idea of one day people get to do whatever they want to do. And it just got into this like the haves and have nots, and it got into racism, and it got into right left politics, and I was just like, nah, I'm out. I'm out.
Are you talking about in the first movie or like over the course of the
Over the
franchise?
course of the franchise.
'Cause
Yeah.
I feel like the first
I mean,
movie
it
was
was-
very
it-
much haves and have nots.
Yeah, it was in the first movie too, to a
Yeah.
degree, right? But I agree. The concept is like an interesting, like, what the fuck world are we living in? And
hmm
unfortunately, you can almost believe that something like that would happen, especially in the U.S. Sorry, Brian. But the execution of the movies was not great at all, really, as far as I'm concerned.
No, and that's what I mean. Like I feel like the concept was higher than the execution.
Yeah.
But
they pop open the back door with a minigun, and they're just like, "Hey, let's just do some racial cleansing." And I was like, I'm just not here for this. This is not what I signed up for.
I've only
So-
seen the first one and the one that was in an apartment building. Anarchy, maybe? I haven't seen the entire franchise because like it just neither of the
Yeah.
ones that I watched spoke to me in a way. I was
Yeah.
like, this is great. It was just kind of like, okay, it's a cool concept. Moving on.
Yeah.
There was a TV series of that as well, I think, for
Oh,
a
really?
season or two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
and it wasn't
Green-
great either.
Green Tuckian, there's a whole theory, tinfoil hat theory stuff on Willy's Wonderland and Five Nights at Freddy's. There's some very interesting fan-based ideas going on with that. You should check it out. Some stuff that the coincidences are so crazy, so deep. My kids are kind of fans of Five Nights at Freddy's. Though I don't let them watch anything Five Nights at Freddy's or play the game or anything, they watch all the YouTube stuff surrounding that and their way into it. Yeah.
That movie was hilarious, though.
Which one?
The Willy's Wonderland.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So funny. So funny. Nick Cage, just classic Nick Caging it.
Is that the one where he like barely talks?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
He's like this like weird dude who's like hired to clean out this weird Chuck E. Cheese like establishment one night. And so he just goes in with like a crate of energy drinks and he's playing pinball on his breaks and just murdering mascots during his work. It's like the weirdest effing movie, but he is so funny. It's just ridiculous and I love it.
Okay, fair enough. Another movie. Yeah, I don't know how to segue to this one. I really liked the first Saw. I thought the first Saw movie had some really interesting ideas to it. I kind of liked the concept of like how far are you willing to go to like how much are you willing to fight to live, right?
Yeah.
I feel like everyone since then. I've only seen the first 3. I gave up after 3. Really got away from that and was really just like, how horrific can we make these kills which admittedly is
Yeah.
kind of the point of the first one as well. So if you're not into gore, you're not going to enjoy this movie. I'm not into gore, and I kind of liked it. Just I thought the twist was really interesting at the end. I thought the questions that it asked were really cool. I liked some of the actors in it quite a bit. The second one I didn't care for, but my wife did, so I've seen it more than I should have. And the third one I saw once, and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. You guys watch any of the Saws?
Seen a lot of them. I agree exactly with what you're saying. They just get worse and worse, and it's more how can we gross you out? And they're sucking people's eyeballs out of their head, and they're twisting their body parts around and just mutilating people, and it's just gross.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah,
I wish I hadn't
I watched the
any
first
past
one.
Yeah.
I watched the
Wa-
first
watch-
one.
Watch the first one. It's great. It's interesting. It's got some really shocking scenes, and after that, you don't need to see anything else.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going over my list. I don't know. Do you guys have any more to throw at it? You guys wanting to wrap this up? Where are you guys at in life?
I
I
actually
just-
have to be wrapping things up here pretty soon. I'm over budget on time already.
Yeah, I figured
Yeah, I
this is
still have to have
running
a
late.
shower and somehow clean this off of my face, but
Go to work like in the morning. Just wake your kid up.
Yeah, I was gonna put my costume back on one more time, but I'm out of batteries and it won't inflate. So
Okay.
it's all good. It's all good.
Hey, Bart, you want to see my new Chainsaw
all
Hack
good.
mask? Ah!
Now, speaking okay, just quick sidebar here on Nicolas Cage. Has anybody seen the? I don't even know what to call it.
Unbearable weight of massive talent.
No. This is more in the horror genre,
Okay.
kind of just blood massacre genre. It's a movie called Mandy.
yeah,
Well, I've heard of it.
I-
I've not seen it.
I watched the first 15 or 20 minutes of Mandy, but it was so slow to get going. I ended up just falling away from it. Should I have hung in there?
I don't know. it is
Ringing
slow
endorsement.
at the start. It's just so weird. It's like a acid trip fueled with blood and gore. It's just crazy. Like these crazy gang and he's just going on a revenge trip trying to off them all. It's just like so bizarre. And the characters are so weird. It just plants images in your mind forever. Whether it's good or not, I cannot say. But I knew when it came out, like it made a splash because it was like so twisted. So a lot of people really liked it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know.
feel
If
like
you're
that
into
one
weird
went
shit,
pretty hard.
yeah. If you're into weird shit, it's one to check out. If you're not, that's totally okay.
Fair enough. Well, I've got more things to talk about, but if you guys have to sign out, I totally understand, and honestly, I should too. So
Yeah, I'm good to sign out. I guess I'll leave on one last movie that I probably watch every Halloween. I probably watch 2 or 3 times a year, and that is the OG Ghostbusters. It's just so good. It's got ghosts, it's got comedy, and it's got Dan Aykroyd, beloved Canadian. I can't say enough good things about Ghostbusters.
fair enough.
It's got a
Although-
great story too. Even the story of how that movie was made and came about is very.
Oh
interesting.
yeah, and how it was changed too. Like the original script was way different, but yeah, I just think it's like a timeless. It's more of just a comedy, obviously, but I mean, it can get you into the Halloween spirit a little bit as well. So I think it's just a timeless movie.
I am so goddamn terrified of if we ever do Ghostbusters on our rating.
You're not a
We-
fan?
It could be all over the place.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be.
I mean, there's
yeah.
only one real rock bottom movie, though.
I haven't seen the newest one. There might be 2
But-
really bad ones.
Frozen Empire was
It's
good.
okay.
Okay.
I thought it was entertaining. It was
Yeah.
all right. It didn't offend me.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
I thought it was like on a similar vibe as the other one, the Afterlife or whatever it was called.
Okay. Brian, I'll start with you. Gonna go around the table on this one really quickly before we sign off. Brian, what one scary movie, Halloween movie, extraterrestrial movie should the viewers watch if you had to give one recommendation this Halloween? Could be something we've already talked about, could be something brand new. What do you got?
No, I would definitely push people to watch Nefarious. I think it's a movie that very few people have seen, and it deserves a lot more recognition. And I think it has such a stellar performance in their in the scenes where the inmate is discussing and switching back and forth between the inmate and the demon. Very good movie. Prince of Peace, you mentioned Monster Squad, man. Wolfman's got nards, bro. That movie rocks.
Fair enough. Cleaning agent, Will. One
Yes,
movie if you had to recommend. What do you got? Something
sure.
new, something you've already talked
Yeah.
about?
No, it would be one I talked about tonight. It seems like maybe not everybody saw it. I think it's good to watch with the kids. The Halloween Tree animated TV movie. I think it's a fun Halloween, and it's like based on Halloween night. It's a great Halloween movie to get you into the spirit.
Nice. Ironically, I already wrote down both of those movies on my list, so yeah, already halfway there. For me, I'm gonna recommend. I've talked about this one before a couple of times. I'm sorry if people are getting sick of it, but it's just one of those ones that I have to tout. It Follows is a relatively new horror movie. It's very low budget. Don't go into it with like expectations of like massive gore or any like super special effects. But it's a really interesting story, and it does a great job of having a supernatural horror, but you don't ever really see it. Like it never really jumps that shark level of where like, okay, now we've seen it too much and now it's getting boring. Like it's just a great never ending boogeyman that is just coming for you constantly. And because it can be anybody at any time, there's so many scenes where they're just talking in public and you'll just like all of a sudden there'll be like a kid in the background slowly walking towards them and you're just like, oh fuck, is that him? Is that it getting closer to them? What is going on? And I think it's such a great psychological horror movie that stays with you. Yes, there's a message to it. You can look at it as that. Obviously, that's clearly what they're going for. But even just as a scary movie, it absolutely works for me. It's one I've seen a couple of times, and I really do enjoy it. If you've not seen it before, I will not spoil anything about it here. Just go check it out. It's worth your time. All right, everybody. I think that's going to be it. Wrapping up this week. There's not going to be an episode of Our Rating tomorrow. We did this instead. We've all got young families, so we're probably going to take our kids out trick-or-treating or maybe be busy at the door handing out candies depending on where we live. So I hope everybody out there stays safe. I hope you stay well. Enjoy your Halloween. Be safe, and we'll see you not tomorrow, but next Thursday for Alien. As we start up the brand new, of course, somebody had to take over the camera. Thank you so much. The brand new season, I guess, of Our Rating. We're going to go through the entire Alien franchise, starting at the very beginning. Check that movie out in the next week and a half if you got time so that you're ready to go and we're ready to talk about it. Until then, you guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, chat.
I hate how I always do that and then go, oh yeah, I should probably rate somebody.
Yeah, you probably should. And I'll take this moment to talk about a movie I didn't talk about. I don't associate it as a Halloween movie, really, but it is a good horror movie, I feel. And, like, it's not even that new anymore, but when I saw it way after it came out, and that's called The Babadook.
I remember really liking that one, and I couldn't remember a thing about it. I just remembered that I loved it. So I was like, I can't put it on my list because I can't say anything about it other than it's good.
Yeah, it's just like, obviously the message is like so strong in this, and watching it now that you have kids is like super like horrible. But I think it was really well done and totally scary for all the psychological reasons.
Yeah. No, that's a good one for sure. I can't. All I remember is that I liked it. And there's a book. Yeah. All right, we're ready to raid Dadpool Games. Go give them some love. If you haven't already, please, 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 we are so close. Consider heading over. I should have this ready.
Babadook, Green Tuckian. It was Babadook.
Nope, that's not going to do it. If you're willing, consider heading over to my movie channel. It is different than my gaming channel. Hit the subscribe button over there. That's where all these episodes go up, edited. There's better versions of them. If you're missing one, Prince of Peace, you were talking about Evil Dead Rise. You can check that out in the near future. Head over there, hit that subscribe button. It would really mean a lot. Other than that, go give some love to Dadpool Games. We'll see you next time.